Hey guys, welcome back to the studio. Today we're recovering my office chair again. All you need is a couple basic tools and you can do this too. It's really easy. Let's get started. So the first thing you're going to need is a stapler. That's going to be your main squeeze for putting this thing back together. And there's lots of different choices and it can be confusing sometimes. So my advice is get something that says heavy duty on it. See, these ones I think are all light duty. This Boss Stitch says heavy duty stapler, so that'll shoot a heavy duty staple. Make sure that it says heavy duty. So like this one, this is just a cheap little stapler. It's gonna shoot junky staples. This one looks identical, but it's bigger and it says heavy duty on it. And then with that, it says it shoots T50 staples. T50 staples. Those T50s are right here. They're heavy duty staples. So make sure you get the big one because the little one won't do you any good. So you're looking at, 14, 16 to 20, what is this one? 20 bucks. 20 bucks for the stapler and then $3 or $4 for a pack of staples. I only used 4 rows of staples to do the whole chair. So you just need one box. Or alternatively, you can get real fancy with it. Get something like that for 60 bucks. Or you can buy a pneumatic one. Let's see what they got over here. An electric nail gun. Oh dang, that's fancy. Don't even need a compressor. And it shoots brad nails. Oh my goodness. I want one of those. Then we need something to tear that thing apart. So I was using channel locks like this one. This is $5, cheap little thing. If you're like desperate and you really have no tools and you need something to tear it apart, or you can use whatever you can find. A pair of needle nose pliers, pair of Lyman's, channel locks, vice grips. Experiment, see what you got. Or you can just use a butter knife and a hammer. So this is a pretty big project and I've got not a lot of space in here because I recently added this old recliner love seat to my office for extra seating. So first thing we need to do is just demo the thing, rip it apart, and pay attention to how things are put together. Not, that kind of makes sense. But yeah, just take the thing apart and keep all the screws. So this was the original, and you can watch my other video. I just covered it up, and you can totally do that. And it worked fine for, I don't know how many years I've had this chair. But in this video, we're going to go a little bit farther. We're going to take this out and put new padding in it. So we're going to take all this out. Let's see what's under here. So now we're left with this really nicely formed, shaped piece of plywood that we can add new padding to. And in my case, I am reusing the padding from an old couch. Now you can buy, if you don't want to spend the time to gut a couch for materials, you can certainly buy new padding from pretty much any craft store. Or you can get creative and just use what's around your house. See if it works. Got the seat now. And as you see, I didn't do much to finish the bottom. And you don't like, who's gonna look under your chair and be like, oh man, you didn't do a nice job there. Like, who cares? Just staple it on. But if you want to take the time to finish it out, go for it. Finish it out. We're gonna just rip this apart. Because it's got this leather on it, it's got that old fabric, and then it's got the original fabric, so we're gonna just tear it all down. I'll see you in a minute. It's gonna take a while. One thing I had done after I had covered this seat the first time, I added this pad and then recovered it again. So that's something you definitely can do instead of taking the time to clean all this out and put new padding in it. Just put a pad on top of it and go for it. I actually really like the way this seat feels, so I think I'm going to leave it alone. Got the whole thing demoed, and all I used was a pair of channel locks and a 4mm Allen wrench. So that was pretty easy, but you can use whatever you want. If you don't have a pair of channel locks or you're not used to using them, you can use needle nose pliers, you can use a butter knife, whatever you got. So we've got three main pieces. We've got the seat, the backrest, and the two armrests. Same thing with the armrest as the seat though. I really like the way these feel, and the cushion that's in them, they're not worn down at all, so I'm just going to recover these. I'm not going to reupholster them. So those are good. This foam is just going to go on top of the seat, and then this piece is the backrest from the love seat that I tore apart. So it's got a couple weird shapes in it, but I think it'll work really well to put new padding on this backrest. So we're going to cut this down a little bit, cut it to shape, and then we'll cover that one. And the material I'm using to recover everything is this suede fabric, microfiber suede fabric from the love seat. So this is the back of the couch. The back of the couch is primo for quality material because it never gets worn down. It could be this super old nasty couch, but the back of the couch is always pristine because it's always like up against a wall and it's not touched by pets. It doesn't get sat on or rubbed on in dirt, and it's always really nice material. So we have this nice big piece to cover the back. We've got a couple little strips. This came from the side of the couch, and got another big piece here in case we mess up, and then this big piece from the other side of the back of the couch will be the seat. But we're going to do that tomorrow because I need to turn on the air compressor and it's almost midnight, so I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to start with the seat, just for like no particular reason at all. So make sure you know which way's front, and I can tell that by the position of these bolts. I know that those are towards the back of the chair, so I know that this side is the front. And my foam goes on like that. I labeled F for front when I took it apart, so I knew which way I had it on before. And we're just going to cover this thing. Okay, so we're just going to flip this guy over, get him centered, and I like to stretch it the same way that I stretch canvas. But if you've never stretched canvas before, then you don't know what I'm talking about. Basically, all I'm going to do, we'll see how tight this is. This is going to be, I don't have a lot of extra material to work with. It's going to be tight. But yeah, you're going to start in the center. So we're just going to press down. Start in the middle. We got 2 staples left. Staple it down. Come to the other side. And pull that tight. There we go. Okay, so you get those 2 in, get the centers in on the side. Then we're going to come up over here, and you want to stretch this thing in all directions, but not so much that you're compressing the foam down and getting rid of that cushion. But you do want it to be tight enough that you don't have wrinkles everywhere. So now that we have those 4 centers done, all you have to do is work your way out. So we're going to just keep spinning this thing, pulling and stapling as we go. So pull this, dang, that's not a lot of material to work with. Pull that up, and you don't have to staple right next to Your previous one I went 1/2 inch off. So what I like to do is staple on either side of that center line as I go. So staple on either side, turn it 90 degrees, pull it up a little bit, and can you see that? Hold on, let me get you a better view. So see how the tension is causing this to buckle right here? Your next staple should match that tension so that that buckle isn't there anymore. So pull it the same so it's flat again, then staple it, and then that'll give you even tension across the whole thing. So as it is now, you see these wrinkles here. So you can intentionally do that if you want to give it some shape. You kind of just see how it's going as you're stapling it, check it, and see what's going on. But if you give it all even tension, we'll pull this all down. It'll give this all nice even taper. Yeah, I really have no idea what I'm talking about. Just wing it. We're just winging it. Just staple it on. So as we're pulling this, I'm stretching it this way, but then I'm also pulling towards the corner, pulling away from the center at the same time. Just a little bit, not a whole lot. So about 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch away from your last staple. Put another one. Turn it. Stretch that up. This fabric's nice and stretchy. It's good. Now that we're to the corners, I'm sure there's lots of different ways to finish the corners. I only know 2 ways that I can make it look nice. The same way that I do canvas is you're going to bring this all the way tight on this side and all the way tight together so it's like that, and then you take this triangle and you fold it over one side and then back over on itself. But it doesn't really work when you don't have a sharp corner. So the other way to do it is same thing, you just keep stapling until you get those to meet at the corner, and then you're going to take this corner and just fold it straight on a 45, and then you get these nice pleats on either side like that. So just pleat it. So keep pulling. It's important to keep that tension here because you start running out of material and it's easy to not pull as much on it. So make sure that tension is as even as you can. Okay, I'm going to try my best to keep it in frame for you. So this one actually works really well to just fold it up and pull it straight at a 45 and bring it down. And that's usually how I do it. I don't know why the back corners weren't working out that way. And now my gun doesn't want to work. Come on. What's your deal? There you go. Where's my scissors? Okay, so then all this extra material, get this stupid warning off here. Just take some scissors or a box knife or whatever you got, and you can trim that off. Or just leave it on there. It's up to you. It's your chair. Well, that pulled right out of there. Going through too much material at once. Staples are having a hard time going through that much. The last step is to take a sharp knife and open up you can kind of see them there, the hardware for the handle to bolt on. So if you find where it is, just poke a hole through it. Poke a hole through it the other way and open that up carefully without cutting yourself. Let's try the scissors, see if the scissors will work. My knife is having a hard time getting through it. There we go. Just push that down and around it. And then when we put the handle on, that mechanical fastening will clamp that fabric in place so that it doesn't move. So we gotta do that 4 times and then we're done with this piece. So this is a little bit of a funky shape, so it's basically the same process as we did for the seat. We're going to start with a center line, and then on this one I don't really need to pull it all that much, just tight enough, right? So right there, I like that tension right there, and we're going to keep that close to the edge. And make sure you're pushing down your stapler into the material as you go, because you're going through quite a bit and you want that staple to be tight. You want it to be seated all the way down. Okay, so a little bit different shape. So as we go, it's pretty easy to keep the tension on this, and we're not going to have a whole lot of wrinkling going on. So we can go ahead and staple this whole side, keeping a little bit of tension laterally this direction, and just keep that line straight is all you're worried about. Then we flip it over. We have a little bit of tension there, you see that buckling? So we're just going to pull that until we can match that tension all the way along and keep it even. It's not a whole lot. I'm not pulling very hard on this piece. And as I match that tension, I'm also pulling in this direction, kind of sideways away from the center line. Okay, so now when we get to the corners, the thing I learned from doing this last time was that you don't want a lot of excessive material on the ends, because then it won't fit back on the chair properly and it'll be misaligned. So do your best to avoid a lot of material on these ends, and to do that I'm just going to stretch it a bunch and staple it and see how it wraps. So we're going to kind of pleat it back here and pleat it and pleat it and pleat it, right, like that, instead of having this all straight and then pleating it all up here like this and having this big bunch of material. So let's see how that goes. Let's try it out. Okay, now we're going to do basically the same thing on this side. Just always be aware of where your screws are going in so you don't cover them up. Just like that. So, if you can see, there's a screw hole and there's a screw hole, but right now there's a little bit of fabric flopping over, so we got to cut that out. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get the screw in. There you go. So now you can see that screw hole in there. Right there. So the only thing left to do is to stick it back on the frame. So this goes back on here, just like that. It looks pretty good. Put some screws in it. So there you go. 2 suede armrests. This one's got tape on it because it failed at one of the screw holes, and so I have this molded and drying with some resin in there to see if that'll fix it, because my kids climb on my chair all the time. They broke it. So we're going to set those aside, let it dry, and move on to the backrest. The funnest part. So first thing is to size this weird pad that we have. This one's kind of weird because, let me show you. So it's square over here and thick, 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 thick. And then over here, they tapered it and then folded it back on itself so that they would get this nice smooth curve in the couch. We're gonna leave that alone because this is the right width. When it's folded up like that, it's the right width, and then that fold gives it back the same girth that it needs. I'm hoping that we won't run into a problem over here. Remember on the original foam that this part was all shaped to go in and around the seat because the seat has to butt into the back of this. So I'm hoping that this foam will just compress enough that it'll be a little bit tighter of a joint there and it won't be an issue. We'll see how it goes when I put it together. I'll do a test fit. But then the top, we can just do whatever we want. We just cut it and put it together. So I think I don't really have the proper tools for this. I think I don't know how to cut this weird foam crap. To cut this yellow one, it would be nice to have one of those adjustable X-Acto knives. Then you can swing it out all the way and cut all the way through it in one clean swoop. But we don't have that, we just have big scissors. So we're just gonna hack at it for a little bit and try and make it as straight and clean and nice as we can without too many bumps, because you won't see them too much, but if you really jack it up, you might see those bumps in the finished product. Okay, I'm gonna try something. Just because of the way that it was built before, I think it's a good idea. I pulled back the white foam away so that I'm only cutting a yellow foam, and then I've got this fillet knife that I've never used, so it should be nice and sharp. And we're just gonna trace this line using this knife. Oh yeah, that works real good. Shape this a little bit. Can't really see what I'm doing, but trust me, it's gonna work. Actually, I don't know if that's gonna work. I hope that it works. So just tracing that line, it's a little rough, right? But it kind of follows that top line of the plywood. And then this piece will come around and fold over top of it and hide all that bumpiness, right? See what I'm saying? So yeah, I actually like that quite a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and staple that on to the back side. I'm out of staples. Okay, so now this corner is an issue because it's kind of like all bunched up, so we got to redo that with the scissors. A little bit of sawing motion, and we're good. And then I think, should I taper that? I think I want to taper that just a little bit, just so we don't run into issues later. Oh yeah, that's gonna work real nice. Make sure that hardware is still exposed for the handles. We'll flip this over and pull this around. I think you can just thin this stuff out because it has this liner to hold it all in that I totally missed and didn't staple down. I should have gotten that stapled, but the fabric will hold it, so that's not that big a deal. But we'll thin this down a little bit so it's not so bulky on the corners. Dang, I really need to sweep this floor. It's disgusting. Now the question is, Nope, it doesn't fit. Gosh dang it, it's not big enough. Okay, it's big enough that way. So what we're gonna do, I've got this other piece. I'm gonna have to sew this together so that it's long enough, and then that seam will be hidden underneath the seat, so you won't see that. Be right back. Okay, we got that sorted. Now we're gonna staple the whole thing on. Let's go. Alrighty then. So for the backing, I saved this little piece of foam that came out. Let's go that way. Or does it go that way? No, it definitely goes this way. Came out of the original, so we're gonna put that down, and that will kind of cover up all this junk. And then this piece goes right on top of that. We'll get the lines basically straight. And then all we're going to do is tuck. Can you see this? We're going to tuck this in around the foam, make that a nice straight line. And then I went and bought 2 packs of these upholstery nails. What are they called? Decorative tacks from Hobby Lobby. So we're going to tack that whole thing all the way around, make it as straight as we can, and then we're done. There you go, all done. Actually didn't need to worry about the top and the bottom coming together because of the way that I did the stuffing. There's actually a big crack right here, which is actually good for me because I get junk on my seat and then junk won't fall and get stuck in there. It'll just go all the way through, so it's perfect. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, share this video, comment down below if you want to see me do anything in particular, or if you have questions. I'm happy to answer them for you. If you do your own chair covering, I'd love to see pictures. Send them to me on my Instagram @DevinsArtStudio. Thanks so much for watching.